Greetings, happy Friday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here on BlazeTV radio and podcast. I am Steve Deace, alongside Todders and Aaron McIntyre, joined by our good friend Tim Young. He'll be here with us in a moment for the Deace Group. We're brought to you by our good friends as well at First Cup Coffee Company. They have a flavor for every freedom-loving American. You can try it now or try it again. And if you go to firstcup.com and use the promo code DACE, you'll get 10% off if you do. Firstcup.com, promo code DACE. And if you subscribe, you'll get 10% off for the life of your subscription as well. Take advantage of it at firstcup.com, promo code DACE. Next hour, we'll talk some Feedback Friday. There has been a ton of reaction to the show we did on Monday about how things have changed maybe and how we ought to engage the education issue in light of several states taking on school choice finally. So we'll get to some of that feedback and more coming up in the next hour of the show. But let us begin, as we always do, with the Deace Group. Your weekly look at the week that was begins, as it normally does, with issue 1. Bleep. Lord Nefarious says,
what is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, most of all, what does it mean? As we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure.
No, because this is what y'all do. So I'm trying to get
Miss Crockett, you're not recognized. Miss Crockett.
I can't hear you with your yelling.
Don't want
calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk noise, and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
As I'm sitting here, and there seemed to be this question of you're either diverse or you're qualified, all I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's.
My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP.
This election matters because of a reason like that. People have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
When you weaken the FBI, these are things that strike at the heart of democracy, and that's one of the reasons we're fighting as hard as we are to shore up these institutions, tell people the truth about them, and hopefully have folks listen to folks like you to understand what's at stake.
After I signed the PAC Act into law, I handed the pen that I signed it with as a tradition of the most responsible.
This is a queer planet.
Queerness has always existed. It's only in humans that we have such a stigma about it.
The idea of just having two fixed sexes is clearly out of style.
Queer people have magic that we can share.
We're lucky enough to be in the Walmart Pride collection this year. Total dream come true.
It's not every day that I see my products in a Walmart. It's important.
This will be the one I've waited for. This will be
My administration is working around the clock to free the remaining hostages, just as we have freed hostages already. And here with us today is Hirsch Goldberg Poland, and still, he is not here with us, but he's still being held by Hamas.
I'm here enjoying a nice day at the beach with my kids, and I turn around, I got these flags planted here on the beach by these MAGA f***s. Listen, this is all America. We know. You didn't storm the beaches to stake out your territory on the beach. This isn't the moon. I get it. This is America. But I'm sick of my flag being represented by white nationalist trash on a beach. Go yourselves.
And when I was vice president, things were kind of bad during the pandemic.
Okay, let's get started. First question, Tim Young is the guest. You get first dibs. What was the most vile thing you just saw and why?
I'm acclimated to all of it now, so none of it affects me anymore, Steve. I'm sorry. I watch your show every week, and it's like the worst and worst. This actually was kind of a tame week compared to some of the other weeks, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go with the Waffle House action in Congress. And not only was it just like ghetto from one side, but I'm really glad that they're not sitting anybody next to Lauren Boebert. I noticed she had an empty chair next to her. I guess they're worried that she's going to get handsy in there too. I mean, it's just both sides of the worst right now, you know?
Yeah, I know. I mean, and
don't you sully Waffle House like that. What did Waffle House do to you?
It's a great American institution.
3 a.m.? They should just start throwing chairs and stuff. Who cares anymore? Look, if the House GOP is not going to do anything, which is exactly what they're doing, absolutely nothing, they might as well just have drama like, cheating on their wives with other members and yelling at each other. Let's just turn it into Jerry Springer. At least get some entertainment out of our tax money.
We did have kind of white trash versus ghetto there. And what was funny, I guess maybe not so funny now that I think about it, but the picture of these two women just being completely hinged and going full on banshee on one another, okay, as complete beta males presiding over the proceedings, pretend to be conducting official business while these two broads are just losing their crap like it's an outtake from the real world, okay? And they're just losing it on each other like it's, housewives of Orange County, housewives of the DMV, okay? And Comer and whoever the Democrat is with the bald spot up there that's the minority member, they're just like that. Pages are coming by, handing them documents. They're looking at it. They're pretending to sign off. Oh, yes. And then they're screaming and yelling at each other. And it's only when one of them drops an expletive that they finally act as if the gavel comes down, as if what preceded that was just normal discourse in the House. Okay, someone swore. I mean, I cannot have. That was actually maybe the most honest thing that was said in the entire conversation. Frankly, that picture, by the way, man, that plays out in so many married suburban homes all over America. Karen just losing her bowels. Her bowels are just emptying out of her mouth, just losing it. Okay. Meanwhile, what do you call him? Neil? Is that what you call him?
Neil. There? Karen and Neil.
Yeah, I get what the Neil is about there. There you go. Neil just sits there in his lawn chair, just, on it, scrolling his phone, pretending to look after the kids who are over there, like with their hands in a open fire pit or something, okay? And Neil cannot be bothered while the kids are playing with fire or a down power line, and Karen is bellowing on and on and on about some perceived grievance. That is suburban America playing out in the House of Representatives right there, man. Absolutely it is.
Yeah. I took a break from, I didn't have to watch my police body cam videos on YouTube. I go down the rabbit hole watching those. They're really fun, by the way. Drunk ladies, just leave the property when they tell you to leave. Don't push the cops. But, it's the same thing here in Congress.
PSA, yes, go ahead, yes.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think, and sorry to talk so much, Steve, I usually don't hear, but I thought it was a very tame week compared to what's going on. I mean, look, gay people at Walmart didn't see that coming. Guy that doesn't like the American flag, whatever. Joe Biden talking all over himself. I mean, we'll get to the end of my rating, but it's going to be a nothing week. I mean, there's nothing about pornography or trying to convert kids right away.
Real tough guy, by the way. He's like 50 yards from the people who are with the flag. And he's like, I hate these people. I'm whispering right now. You can barely hear me. I'm right up
Loud waves on the beach.
Yes.
Loud waves on the beach. Can't hear him.
Yeah, what a tough guy, indeed. Todd, what about you? Go ahead.
Well, Joe was mumbling and incoherent for most of that.
Aaron
had him on 4 or 5 times in there. But, they give him the good stuff when they've got something that they think is important to say.
Yeah.
And the very first clip, he had some of the good stuff because he wanted to make sure that when black 22-year-old young people were graduating from college, that they got it abundantly clear, the message that don't get uppity. You're only valuable to us if you're a victim, if you're angry, and you're feel like you're in bondage on some level. Remember, did you get the memo? Because we don't want you to go out there with that degree and getting all fancy on us. Stay angry, my friend. Yeah. I mean, he flat out told him that.
Race huckstering, abortion, and anything to do with the rainbow jihad. That's when he gets the amphetamines. The rest of the time, it's just the typical lithium.
The rest of the time, it's pack-a-lack-a-lack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, a guy up there who literally was a friend to segregationists.
Yeah.
Up there telling people born 70 years after the Civil Rights Act was passed. Yeah. Okay, that country, a black man loves country. I mean, if that isn't an absolute, you're talking about metaphors here. That is a metaphor for much of America's political discourse right now. And when you stop and think about the fact, we are seriously poised to lose our country to that. I mean, we don't deserve a Genghis Khan. We don't deserve an Attila the Hun. We don't deserve an Ivan the Terrible. There was a time, men, where civilizations faced conquerors worthy of their demise. We're not in that time. No. We deserve to face our demise at the hands of, all right, who was literally toasting segregationists before the parents of any of those college students were born. Okay, that's what we deserve, and that's exactly what we're going to get here.
Correct.
Aaron?
Man, let's go to Walmart. As Tim said, who could have seen that coming? Well, I guess maybe Walmart and Target. What's another big department store? It used to be Kmart, but it's basically Walmart and Target now are the big behemoths at the top of the heap now. Do you think they're just like casting straws every Sunday or every summer now? Hey,
our stock price is too high. Who wants to take the hit this quarter?
Who drew the short stick this time? Let's get our pride.
We don't want to pay those dividends to our investors this quarter.
The last couple of years, it's been Target. This year, it's going to be Walmart. I'll take the hit this year. I think that's what's actually happening here. So I find that somewhat comforting, actually. If that's actually what's happening, I find that comforting in some weird, perverse way. So maybe that's, I don't know, maybe the scale this week should be the best of the week. Maybe that's the best.
Well, then let's get to the exit question, shall we? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the odds, Lindsey Graham has not already consumed lethal amounts of microplastics. If you know, you know. And 10 being the odds, he's already working with Joe Biden to hunt down the erectionists. Rank this week's level of total depravity, Todd.
Tim Young is right. I don't think I've given anything lower than a 9 since before COVID. This is like a 5. Have 10s become just the norm? I don't know what to do. It's weird. Yeah. Tim's right.
Tim, you're at a 5 or lower?
I'm at a 1. This is
wow.
I can deal with this. This is minor nonsense to me. Like compared to everything else that's going on in the world. Shocker. Have you ever been to Bentonville, Arkansas? Of course, Walmart's gay. It's just like none of this shocks me.
Shout out to Bentonville, Arkansas, I guess. Aaron, go ahead.
I'm going 10, but just only because of the scale, not because of the content of the montage. I mean, it's a metaphysical certitude that Lindsey Graham wants to hunt down erectionists.
It is. That's kind of a, shall we say, sunk cost. However, when I was on the American Family Association's radio network back in the day, we had a wonderful affiliate in Bentonville, Arkansas.
They don't pay you now. Who cares, Steve? Let it go. Hey, a lot of gay restaurants there is what I'm saying.
You know who does pay us? Our friends at Patriot Mobile. So let's talk about them for just a second. See, the master of the segue there, Tim. I know you loved it. Yes.
That's good.
Yes. But Patriot Mobile on the cutting edge of helping to establish America's much needed parallel economy. One place you can take advantage of not giving your money directly to people who hate you is with your mobile phone. The one product we all need in modern America. Make the switch today if you're a veteran or first responder and you go to make the switch. They've got extra ways to say thank you. Just let them know and they'll say thank you for your service. All of us can use my name Steve as a promo code to get a free activation when you make the switch today to Patriot Mobile. All right, and you'll love their U.S.-based customer service team. People are like, why is that a big deal? Well, if they're U.S.-based, that means you can understand them, unlike most customer service teams in the world today. All right, so make the switch today. PatriotMobile.com/Steve is how you can do it. You can keep your phone, upgrade your phone. You can switch your number, so you'll stop getting spam texted with, we can't believe you haven't donated yet, Tim, text from the Republican National Committee. Or you can keep your number because you love those texts and you can't get enough of them. All right, so PatriotMobile.com/Steve or call them at 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. All right, let's get to issue 2. Are they really going to go through with this?
We're doing great here. Here's the week in Joe Biden.
Georgia Democrats, please join me.
What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP.
After I signed the PAC Act into law, I handed the pen that I signed it with as a tradition of the most responsible. My administration is working around the clock to free the remaining hostages, just as we have freed hostages already. And here with us today is Hirsch Goldberg Poland, and it's still, he is not here with us, but he's still being held by Hamas. And when I was vice president, things were kind of bad during the pandemic. And what happened was, Barack said to me, go to Detroit and help fix it.
I may have understood about half of the words spoken there.
Did it hit any different? I did this on purpose. I took the exact same clips that I used.
But put them all together?
But I put them all together.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's start. Tim, you weren't on the show earlier this week, so let me mention this to you again while you're here. The only time I see what happens going on in legacy media, and I include Fox News in that nowadays, the only time I see what goes on in legacy media is people sharing clips on my X feed, or when I go lift on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they've got it up on all the screens, okay? And on MSNBC Wednesday morning, they had a clip of Jen Psaki interviewing James Carville about the upcoming election, and Carville says, quote, and they're playing this on MSNBC, quote, Biden's age is suffocating him as a candidate, end quote. That was a direct quote of what he said, all right? So let's start with the question I began this segment with, and Todd, I'll go to you first. Are the Democrats really going to go through with this? It's May 24th, all right? Are they going to let the American people continue to see for another 6 months more of what Aaron just demonstrated? Are they really going to go through with this?
Likely, yes.
Okay.
I am actually less certain of that since the whole debate chicanery started.
And let's debate like next week. It wasn't just the debate stuff, but we wanted to have a debate next week, basically. Yeah.
Right. And the fact that they locked it in so quickly, you know, how many, and what number are we up to, by the way, Steve? Isn't it even more than 2 now that are being discussed? Or are 2 only official?
Well, every time Trump agrees to all of their terms.
Yes, exactly.
Literally will do anything, any moderators you want. Then he comes back and posts something on Truth Social. Well, maybe we should do something on Fox News or Univision was the last one that he did. Because that's what we want. Univision, well known for giving Republican nominees fair shakes. I was at the debate in Miami in the GOP primary where one of the moderators was the Univision activist who just, you know, beyond embarrassed. No, that was actually the Reagan debate when that happened. And Megyn Kelly was there hosting it. And remember that Univision activist there wasn't even a reporter, just an absolute joke. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I initially thought when Joe comes out there, I'll debate you. And I thought maybe this was his reaction to, like, Joe, it might be time to hang it up. And he said, oh, I got another thing, another gear here. I'm going to go get this, and try to force their hand to, like, not do that to him. But then they locked in the actual dates and times and guests. Are like, and then the way Trump plays this, who knows what if he understands what he's doing or not. All I'm saying is I'm less certain of it than I was before all this debate. But I think the smart money on is because they can get away with so much of it. There's so many wins here. Yes, there's L's, but this whole thing should have never worked. We never thought it was going to work. All 3 of us in this room are guilty. There's no way Biden happened. They necromanced him. They use him. He's ready to be used. His wife will allow him to be used. There's so much shamelessness and evil here that there's a lot. And Obama gets a 3rd term. They're going to try to make this work at all costs if they can.
Aaron, are they really going to go through with this?
Yes.
All the way to the end?
Yes. We had these same types of questions back in 2020, and he was bad then. I don't think he was this bad.
No.
But yes, and unless his health forces them to say, well, we have to find somebody different. Like, we don't have a choice. That's what I'm trying to say. We don't have a choice. They're going to go all the way with Joe. Never forget, as seemingly like it is herding cats, which all political parties are like this, the various constituencies. On the left right now, as much as it's like herding cats, trying to get all of these constituencies energized, and when you peddle in rage and what holds you together is division, ironically, that's what the left does, division with the other side of the country, but that's what holds them together. You always have to keep kind of like Joe Biden's lithium in the morning, or amphetamines if he's talking about anything super wicked or evil. You have to keep kind of amping up that dosage bit after bit. We'll see what they have in store over the summer and late summer. To keep people, hey, no, actually, I do want to vote for the octogenarian after all, because if I don't, fill in the blanks is going to happen. Some sort of calamity is going to happen if I don't do that. They will coalesce. There will be a moment that they will be able to coalesce and galvanize their various sects and constituencies. But yeah, they're going to go all the way with this unless his health forces them. Original Greek of force, forces them to do something different.
Tim, are they really going to go through with this?
I'm one of the only people who said from the beginning they were going to keep him around. There were so many rumors that they were going to knock him off early on. I said within the first 3 months, I was like, if he doesn't go then, they're going to keep him around the entire time. The one thing I want to dispel here is the crazy, and it's an actual conspiracy theory, that he has a body double. And I think it's totally stupid, these people who say that there's a body double and the earlobe thing and yada yada with Joe Biden. Because if you had a body double for the guy, you'd put him in all the time, you'd totally pull a Dave. And he would be in there all the time, speaking normally and being intelligent, and you could train a guy to be there. There is no body double. It is the old man. They are wheeling him out. They are pulling a Dianne Feinstein with him, where they will wheel him out until the final day and tell him how to vote, even though he's totally incoherent, or tell him what to sign.
Mm-hmm.
He is in this for the longest haul that they can get out of him.
I agree with everything you guys just said. I just think, Aaron, you put the caveat, as long as his health holds up, the long haul that they can get out of him. I think that they believe that that is coming to an end. And I have said since the start of the year that I also thought he would be there at the end. But the debate thing last week and wanting to do it this early, I am convinced it is because it's basically his demonstrate that you can carry the water here. And if you can't, the convention is 2 months away. That's plenty of time for us to figure out what else we're going to do. The Democrats are going late this cycle. Their convention's not until the end of August. So that's plenty of time. If he goes in there and absolutely, calls down fire from Xanadu in between praising the Pakalakalak, okay, they can retire him and move on. There's no other reason for them to do a debate on June 28th. There's no other reason for them I can foresee, other than this is an attempt to demonstrate his faculties or lack thereof. What would be the alternative explanation?
They've always, sure, I'll buy that. The left always has contingencies.
Yeah.
They always have contingencies. It's amazing. It seems like contingencies just kind of fall into your lap when you control every single institution of import.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, nobody knew COVID was coming, and 3 degrees of separation. Oh, hey, mail-in voting and ballot harvesting and all of that rot.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that they were going to necromancy him in the middle of COVID on Super Tuesday. That was when that happened, right? Or maybe it was the year before. I can't remember.
Yep.
Nobody knew that was going to happen. It's amazing the contingency plans that you just kind of have at your disposal that you trip into when you control every major institution.
Well, but these debates, too, are set up so in the favor of Joe Biden, right? It's why I won't debate a lefty on their own show. They have producers in everybody's ears. You have the two hosts that'll go against Trump, and they're muting Trump's mic when Joe Biden talks. That totally favors Biden, and there's no live audience, so you don't even get a real reaction or anything that can distract the old man.
Mm-hmm.
It is set up to favor him the entire time. I really can't believe the Trump campaign agreed to this.
That was my next question I was going to ask you. Do you think they should have not agreed to it? They think they should have said, hey, we'll see in the fall when people are paying attention.
I think they should have done it and said, hey, live audience and people can talk over everybody. This is democracy or whatever they're trying to claim it is this week. In our republic, we should have open forum with everybody yelling at each other. Everybody gets to be there in person and have an actual back and forth debate. This is totally loaded on the side of Biden, where they can just fill things full of facts. Trump is going to be debating the moderators and Biden. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
We know the moderator is going to fact check Trump the entire time and not do anything, whatever Biden says. They're going to cover for him. I think it's just a mistake. It'll be fun to watch, but it's still a mistake from the Trump campaign.
Yeah, but he can't help himself. He wants this so badly. He wants to be back on TV.
Might also be thinking it's my only crack to get at him is right now.
Oh yeah.
Might be thinking that too. If I don't do it now, they won't do it in the fall. But I think the June 28th debate, I still believe that date is a very specific reference point because it provides nearly 2 full months to put somebody else in there if Joe goes in there and bombs. If Joe goes in there and shows he cannot do it. Now, Tim is correct. The expectations for Joe and the whole thing will be slanted for him for sure. But that, again, feeds what I'm saying. If in spite of all that, he still goes in there and bombs, that gives them 2 full months to figure out what they're going to do. If you look at all the data that's out there publicly and the data that I have seen privately, the almost the entirety of Trump's perceived lead to competitiveness, depending on which polls you look at, all stem from Joe Biden singularly performing below the baseline of where the Democratic Party is with its own constituency groups. It's almost exclusively predicated on their own constituency groups having the James Carville position. This guy's either too old to be president or he's too old to win, and so he's going to cost us the presidency to Trump. All right? So that's the threshold that he has to clear, is that. And he's got his own voters to convince. His own people have not coalesced behind him yet. Let's get to the exit question so you guys have time to think about this. Exit question: if the odds Joe Biden will be the Democratic option for president on the ballot this fall were a Def Leppard song, which Def Leppard song would it be? A, Foolin', B, Rock of Ages, or C, Too Late for Love? What's your answer and why, Aaron?
Rock of Ages.
Why?
I think it's a lock.
You think it's a lock?
That's what they want to do.
Okay. You think it's a lock. Todd, what's your answer?
Can you define Too Late for Love for me?
Meaning they're too far down the road. It is what it is. Even if they wanted to switch him out, there's nothing they can do now.
That's definitely that. Well, then I guess there's enough there that it could be Foolin', but I'm still way closer to Rock of Ages.
Foolin' to me is you're fooling yourself if you think they're going to go down with a sinking ship like this, if they have an option. Too Late for Love is they're out of options, even if they wanted to. Rock of Ages is they're all bought in, 100%. Go Joe.
I think it's way closer to Rock of Ages than you two. I'm going to ride that horse till the end, yeah.
Tim, what do you think?
So they don't have anybody to fill in for him right now. I don't think they have a deep bench. Big Mike, it does not want to do it. That's the one thing I got from James O'Keefe going on all those gay dates is that, Big Mike ain't going to be in it, or else the song will be Macho Man from YMCA. Is that enough references? Great. I think it's Too Late for Love.
You know what? Since there's only 2 minutes left, even you probably can't get me in trouble with only 2 minutes left if I bring this up. Tim, are we terrible people that Aaron and I both had the same reaction to the allegations against James O'Keefe? When we looked at each other, we both had, oh, great. At least, finally, a conservative influencer who's not gay. At least he likes chicks. That was literally our first reaction.
For me, being as feminine as I am, I do believe I'm the only straight conservative influencer that's out in the market right now. So yeah, good for him. It's good for him, But he does, let me tell you something.
Because I know James does like his show tunes, and dude can carry a tune. A lot of people may not realize this or know that. James O'Keefe can carry a tune, man.
Look, Steve, I'm offended by this conversation. Just because a man has mastered Grindr and can fool gay men into gay dates all the time, and then he shows up like super gay man and does, you ever heard of James O'Keefe? Like that is money, Steve. He's helping the movement. People like Matt Schlapper out there on stage every day working too. No. See them going on any dates with anybody, uncovering anything.
Note to self.
I like this ride.
Don't ask comedian questions about people's public embarrassments. If there's anything less than 30 seconds left to go in this segment, yes.
Honestly, Steve, there are so many, not secret gay. It's open in DC how many of these guys are actually gay. It's so bad.
That's why Aaron and I are like, hey, someone's straight. Someone is still scamming chicks.
James O'Keefe is very straight, though, and he's a very strong, he loves women. Very much.
We'll come back, I think. We'll see.
The Steve Deace Show.
Well, we have been talking a lot this week about what to do about the sorry state of Satan's youth ministry. We'll talk more about that next hour when we get to Feedback Friday. But if you are looking for options this year, as this school year winds down, you start looking ahead to next school year and you're thinking, how do I get my kid the HE-double hockey sticks out of here? Check out our friends over at Freedom Project Academy. They've perfected online learning. They do this in real time, in person, online learning, K through 12, fully accredited. Can't beat it. Had my own son Noah enrolled in FPA for a couple of years. Only reason we pulled him is he just had interest in extracurricular activity, so we put him at Des Moines Christian instead. But we had no complaints. We could only rave about the job that Freedom Project Academy did, and I'm not surprised. I've known Dr. Duke Pesta, who's one of the mucky mucks there, and some of the other people there for several years. We fought together in the trenches against Common Core back in the day. That's how I first met these folks and found out about FPA after that. So if you want to have classical learning done for your kid, what does that mean? It's the way the founding generations of the country were taught. Judeo-Christian values, how to think, not what to think, critical thinking, et cetera, actually reading books, not summaries of them, that kind of stuff. This is the outlet for you. Go to Freedom for School right now. You might be thinking, I'm sold. If you are, get a 10% tuition credit right now at Freedom for School. Use the preposition, not the number, FOR. freedomforschool.com. You might be thinking, I'm interested, intrigued, but I want to hear more. They've got information packets to give you for free as well. When you go to freedomforschool.com, again, that's freedomforschool.com. All right, let's welcome back, provided we're all still on the air here, our good friend, conservative comedian Tim Young. Let's continue on with our weekly look at the week that was. Let's get to issue 3. You are here.
One meme to rule them all. Tim tweeted this out the other day. This is a meme featuring a Venn diagram of 4 circles. Inside those circles are various dystopian movies, including Idiocracy, 1984, Brave New World, and The Hunger Games. Moving inward, it's They Live, Fahrenheit 451, Mad Max, Animal Farm, and moving it even further, The Matrix, Lord of the Flies, Soylent Green, and Brazil. And at the middle of this Venn diagram are you and me.
So I saw this in your feed, man, and I'm like, we have to do an entire conversation about this. And Aaron, you did a great job highlighting it there too, by the way. So, Todd, I'll start with you. Your immediate reaction when you saw this meme was what?
Welcome to the party, pal. Like, yeah. I mean, I this is like Tim, as he just got done saying, he's got more than a word in edgewise this time. Usually he has a hard time. I mean, we're all just bloviating about something, but
especially you. You're well known for that.
I
try to keep it cool and let everybody else talk. That's just kind of what I do here.
We really don't need to even talk about this. Just let's all be quiet. Let that be on camera for. What's left to say? This is known.
I know.
This is known.
Aaron, what about you?
We usually reference these specific movies. I've only seen a few of them, but we usually reference these movies or works of art or otherwise supposed fiction. I was trying to use the right or find the right term there. We usually do that on our own. I don't know why anybody hasn't, up until this point, thought to put them together in a Venn diagram like that. Because how many times do I say something along the lines of, depending on the time of the day, I'm post-millennial, I'm pre-millennial, depending on the time of the day, you know, I'm feeling more Catholic today, or I'm feeling much more evangelical Protestant, evangelical free. Depending on the time of the day, I'm this, I'm that. Depending on the time of the day, I feel this way about Donald Trump, feel this way about RFK Jr., feel this way about fill-in-the-blank politician. It's because we are constantly in the middle of these overlapping diagrams, these Venn diagrams, where we just
it's a matter of which one of them is needling you at the time.
Escape. Yeah. And the dystopian works of art there, supposed fiction, is probably the best way to encapsulate that. Idiocracy, yes. When we're watching Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett do their 3 a.m. Waffle House act, we're an idiocracy. Okay? When we are I don't know, waiting for our next COVID stimulus check to come in and we didn't get it. We're in like the Hunger Games or something. I don't know. We are in all of those simultaneously every single day. It's just depending on the moment that you catch ourselves in, we might reference a different movie.
So, Tim, since this is the meme that you were sharing, I don't know if you originated or not, saw it or perpetuated it, but it caught your eye and you wanted to elevate it. I mean, you've got quite a Twitter following. So what is it about this meme that made you think, I want to highlight this? Because it got our attention.
Well, I needed to post content that day. I don't know what time it was, Steve. And I stole it from Instagram and put it on my Twitter. That's what we do. That's what influencers do, Steve.
Yes.
They don't have a
We post other people's content with our own followings, and people think it came from us. Yes, that's what we do. Yes.
Well, I learned that from the O'Keefe Academy for Citizen Journalism. I have referenced all of those films at some point, and I don't know how accurate it is. I stared at it for a while, and I'm like, yeah, good enough. And threw it up because, like, we are really in the middle of all of it. And the thing that really got me this week of all things, and why I think we're headed directly towards idiocracy, not just because of people like me who post memes all day long and say stupid shit on the internet. Oh, sorry. And there was a video of a TikToker who was morbidly obese, claiming that her doctors were fat phobic for telling her to lose weight, and that's idiocracy. That's where this is going, because it's the doctor's fault that I'm in this condition, not my own. And that's where you end up showing up to the doctor's office and there's two tubes, one for a mouth and one for a butt, and you don't know which one goes where. That's where we're like 3 steps away from that.
Oh no, we're closer than that. Trust me, it just came out yesterday. How all this DEI stuff is actually affecting the training of doctors. And it actually happened that in some kind of surgical procedure, a med student did not know what a major artery was. The doctor,
is that a problem to not know what a major artery is during surgery? I'm just wondering. Okay, go ahead.
The training doctor corrected that person and in front of other people, and the doctor in training slapped the doctor who's trying to help her not kill somebody by saying, you know, you offended me, you triggered me, yada, yada, yada. So it's way more absurd than the fat person being mad.
We've got electrolytes.
At the doctor.
Yeah.
The doctors are mad that there's standards for being doctors.
Yeah, Dr. Lexus, who you just described, Dr. Lexus would come up to you, Todd, and say, "It's okay, bro. My wife has started. She's an airline pilot now."
And of course, we're all saying this, and we agree with this graphic. And we're like the Leo DiCaprio pointing like, yeah, I see it.
I know this one, yes.
But we go out into public, even amongst our conservative peers. Let's face it, guys. So they're like, yeah, it's a little weird out there, but it'll work itself out. Most of them still think that.
Do you really think when you say conservative peers, how many of those are left? Our earlier conversation,
you're right.
Honestly, when you look at like all of the phonies that are in conservative influencers and the nonsense that they peddle just to make money, like how many peers really are there left? You guys, it's no wonder you guys look like haggard and old every time I come on here. I'd be as exhausted as you. Look, the best we've got is going to see a community production of Oklahoma on the weekends, you know, from one of our other peers. And it's just, I forced that reference. But the thing is, like, I really feel like I'm alone out here in the world. I've got a great wife, obviously, that's a conservative. You guys, I trust and I follow, even though we disagree in politics because we're adults. But I just feel like there's no one good left.
Yeah.
I'm glad you gave me an excuse for the way that I look. Thank you. That's all. That's my takeaway from this conversation.
Tired and
I'm a victim.
You've earned it.
I'm a victim. I look this mediocre because of all the hard work I've done has worn me down. It's not just, I mean, nowadays, I've said this, maybe you've heard me say this, Tim. Amy asks me all the time, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing. Why? She's like, what's that look on your face? And I'm like, that's my face. That's what I've got. That's what I got these days. That's how I'm looking. It's what I've got. This is the face. I mean, I've got nothing else. Yes. So now I have an excuse. I am a victim. Thank you. Let's get to the exit question. So, this is obviously Memorial Day weekend. All right. By Labor Day weekend, 3.5 months from now, what movie do you think we will be in, and why? Todd.
Oh my goodness. Endgame.
As long as it's, well, on your left. Which part of Endgame?
You didn't make me quiet. I'm keeping hope alive.
Yeah. All right. Aaron, which movie do you think we'll be in by Labor Day? Or come Labor Day?
It's a movie that I have referenced a few times. It is called The Room. Not the horror movie The Room, but the Tommy Wiseau movie The Room. The directors are terrible. The director is terrible. It's terribly written. Everything is terrible, but somewhat endearing on some level. So that's the movie that we're in.
Tim, what movie do you think we'll be in?
We're going to be in the. By the way, here's my. I have a
it's Tommy.
That's why I jumped up.
Look at that.
It's signed by Tommy Wiseau. I got the reference, man. That was perfect. We're going to be in the Buzz Lightyear movie because I'm going to have a toy cat to play with, and the only thing that we'll have to take away from it is that there's a gay kiss at some point, probably from conservatives.
Absolutely from conservatives. I'm going to go with The Shining.
Oh, I was going to say that too, actually.
Were you really?
Yeah.
First of all, it's the greatest horror movie ever made, in my opinion. It was released on this date in 1980. All right, so we're on the anniversary of it as well. Okay, and one scene in particular. All right, Danny boy. All right, just getting lost in the maze. That's what we're going to become. Is just lost in the maze. No idea if we get out or not. Just escaped the snowbound hell of the Overland Hotel or the Overlook Hotel just to get lost in the maze. That's where I think we'll be, lost in the maze.
I was thinking about The Shining, just the scene before that where Jack Nicholson's character is axing down the door.
Here's Johnny.
Yep.
Yes. All right. Let's get to our kicker topic, issue 4. A lot of talk again in light of Harrison Butker this time about commencement speeches. This happens this time every year. Someone goes viral for something that is said in a commencement speech. So if you could give a commencement speech, what would it be about and why, Aaron?
And where? And why?
You can even choose that too. Yeah, and where?
I would actually make my commencement speech at Costco, and I would...
Or I got my law degree from Costco.
Juris Doctor,
yes.
You too can ascend to the ranks of those like Jasmine Crockett.
Honorary Costco
who got
degree.
Her honorary degree from Costco. That's where I would actually, that's whom I would address.
Costco, class of 24.
Yes.
All right, Todd, what about you?
Well, I'm shocked that I wasn't asked to be part of any commencement ceremonies this year because...
I think we all are. Don't we all share in Todd's shock that he was not asked? Yes. I think we are all, frankly, astounded. Yes, by all means.
I've been going viral for the last month on a profound message that people using today in real time, understanding what happened to Scotty Scheffler, the importance of setting your feet. This is vital.
The Caitlin Clark thing still. Yeah.
How you can take any level of ridiculous, insane, dumb minutia and ramp it up to the most important thing of the world and ruin everybody's life because of it. And it's okay, because you're special.
Tim, what about you?
I would give a speech at the RNC, and it would be about how everyone's worthless and no one's coming to save America. And you're all in it on your own, so start learning how to garden and maybe start learning how to do a couple of push-ups. Get your cardio up, learn how to grow carrots.
Learn to code.
Nobody at this event's going to help you.
I think, what was the university that Fauci spoke at this year? Was it Columbia?
He spoke somewhere? I know
he gave a commencement speech this year. Okay.
The O'Keefe Academy of Citizen Journalism?
I would like to give a commencement speech right after Anthony Fauci. I would like to get up and speak right after him to the exact same group of people and just absolutely unload. Absolutely unload and just watch people's heads explode at what I had to say. That's what I would like to do. And take out the last 4 years of frustration and anger over what has gone down that he has been the cudgel for, and just take it out on that setting. If for no other reason than my own therapeutic benefit. That's why I would like to do it. All right, let's get to predictions. Tim, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
By this time, the end of the summer, I'm going to be another 20 pounds lighter, man. I dropped 35 pounds. I'm happy I haven't been drinking. It's a crazy concept. It's why I'm angrier than usual.
That's right, folks. This is Tim sober. This is Tim sober, folks. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, Me drunk is chill. Me sober, I don't know how to drive. I mean, I can drive drunk like I'm the best drunk
Let's
driver.
not say that out loud. And that's called satire, ladies and gentlemen. Satire is what that is called. Yes.
It is. No, but I tell you what, I've been on a health kick and I've dropped 35 pounds. I know you've been on a health kick too, Steve. And I think we're both, I'm gonna expand it to be you as well. I think we're both going to be in the best shape of our lives by the time this election comes around.
I think, well, that's my goal. I'm hoping that that's the case. You bet. I'm about halfway to my goal, so I appreciate that, brother. You look great, too, by the way. I was just looking to say that in a non-James O'Keefe way, so thank you for opening up the door for me to do that, all right?
You have to take your glasses off when you say it.
All right. Thank you. Todd, your prediction?
The Harrison Butker obsession will be way more than 15 minutes. The amount of time that Taylor Swift got on camera is going to pale in comparison to the amount of time they're going to use this as a political tool. A lot of people, they don't know when people are paying attention, but when they're watching football, they're always paying attention. And the likes of Rich Eisen, that's going to be a whole political message.
Is your prediction that the Kansas City Chiefs season will be ruined because of the division caused by Taylor Swift speaking out against Harrison Butker?
Oh, I think we're all going to be ruined by this.
All right, Aaron, go ahead.
So when they inevitably start paying players as employees, college football players, that's coming down the pike. That's the next shoe to drop. Yes, Todd is over there wanting to cut himself right
He's setting his feet as we speak.
Too.
He is setting his feet.
They're not actually going to pay them in real time. It's going to set in an account, and they'll get all of their money after their eligibility has run dry. They're going to do this to protect them because they can't deal with the tax implications.
I'm not sure how they're going to do any of this without some form of collective bargaining process. I just don't know how you cut deals. Well, I guess if they're employees, they're each signing their own contract, basically. So, okay. My prediction is, now I kind of wish I would have gone with the Chiefs season is derailed because of the comments that Taylor Swift makes inevitably condemning Harrison Butker. I should have come up with that prediction. Instead, I've got just kind of a boring, lame, conventional one. I think Republicans will lose the House this fall and win the Senate by one seat, 51-49. And then you'll just get to see the whole failure theater that you saw with Mike Johnson in the House just shift over to the Senate.
Let's do that. Let's have fun with this. And let's say Trump wins and that happens. Over under, how many weeks, if not days, does it take for the first articles of impeachment to come out from a Democrat House?
Days?
I don't know. You tell me.
I was thinking
hours?
Yes. I mean, as soon as they're sworn in.
Yeah.
Hakeem Jeffries is speaker. First act as we impeach Trump. Yes, absolutely. Tim, good to see you, brother. Have a great weekend. All right. Thank you. We are back with more. We've got your turn and Feedback Friday coming your way here in a moment. Stay tuned. And back with our final hour before we head off for a nice long holiday weekend here on the Steve Deace Show. Alongside Todd Ers and Aaron McIntyre, I'm Steve Deace. Let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox. You can email the show, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook, Me, We, and Gab. You can follow me at Steve Deace Show on Twitter, get our Instagram, and TikTok. If you listen to the podcast version of the show and you wouldn't mind doing this, please leave us a 5-star review if you like the show, of course. Thanks to all of you who have done this. Also, make sure to hit subscribe, or if you're on iTunes, follow. And that makes sure that every time we do a brand new episode, it shows up in your podcast feed every single time. And we appreciate all of you that have done that for us as well. Also appreciate Balance of Nature. They're a new product that came on board with the show this year, and I love this product. Really excited about it for 2 reasons. Number one, it's more expensive than ever to eat healthy. Typically, the more better for you the food is, the more expensive it is. That's even true in the produce aisle these days. So Balance of Nature hasn't raised their prices for a decade. Number two, the nutrition. I mean, could you, even if you tried, Could you get 31 different kinds of fruits and vegetables into your diet in a given day? You couldn't. So both with the affordability and then also with the nutrition, you get the double whammy there with our friends at Balance of Nature. They're your go-to solution with easy-to-swallow capsules that give your body the nutrition and nourishment that it needs. That's why you're going to go with Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. I take this every single day. Absolutely love it. When you go to balanceofnature.com, you'll get 35% off plus $10 off any additional sets with your first order as a preferred customer by using my discount code DACE at the checkout. That's limited to 5 sets, but you're still going to save a ton of money while getting the fruits and vegetables your diet needs when you go to balanceofnature.com and use the code DACE for the big discount. 35% off at balanceofnature.com. Use the promo code DACE. All right, y'all ready for some Feedback Friday?
You bet.
All right,
Get it back to you.
Indeed, it is time for the people. Indeed. Let's begin with Melinda. I've been homeschooling our kids for 18 years. God bless you. You're doing the Lord's work. For most of that time, we used a co-op, and I saw just how well it could work. I also came from a family of public school educators and was trained to be one before I had my own children. I've spent a lot of time defending homeschooling as a choice from older members of my family who believe it is terrible to pull kids out of the system. My father was a principal for 40 years and is deeply concerned about large numbers of good kids from low economic situations with barely educated parents who would never get a decent education without the public school system. I don't see much evidence. Many kids are getting a decent education regardless of their status, character, or socioeconomic status from the current government school system myself, but I'll continue. He fears that all the good families pulling their kids out of other alternatives will cause the public schools, the only option for lower income families, to become worse than they already are. Why would that happen? I mean, why would the removal of kids determine the quality of the school? Why wouldn't the administrations and the teachers determine that?
Why do educators have some of the worst logic in the world?
Yeah, I mean, the administrators and teachers aren't opting out. They're still going there, right? So why would the students not being there? Why is this dependent on the kids and not the adults, basically, is what I'm trying to find out.
That's a really good question.
Yeah. We do need to stop and think about how many roles the public school fills for needy families. Many parents rely on them to keep their kids occupied all day long while both parents work. We live in rural Kentucky where the school choice issue keeps being defeated because schools provide both all-day childcare and often 2 meals a day for low-income families. Why is that the role of a school? I agree that the schools are doing this, but it is a lot of times it's in order to keep you imprisoned into that system. If vast numbers of families leave the public school, there won't be enough resources to continue to provide for kids whose parents are drug addicts or working 2 jobs. It's not my job to sacrifice my children on that altar. In fact, that would make me a terrible parent. Let me take this out of the context of the schools for just a moment. And let's just say, you know what, if let's do this. If we don't go into this crime-ridden neighborhood and shop at this store, then there won't be enough business for this crime-ridden neighborhood for this store to succeed. And so the people that aren't part of the crime-ridden neighborhood, won't have a grocery store. So it's my job to go there and shop.
That's not even a theoretical. That storyline actually happens.
And I'm going to take my kids there with me, or my wife there with me, and while we're there, the crime-ridden neighborhood does something terrible to my wife or my kids. If we removed the prominence that government education, which is kind of like medicine, if we removed the name of that and just put that in any other context and use that exact same logic, you would call me a bad husband and father that I subjected my wife and kids to that crime-ridden neighborhood.
I wish you were right about that. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people wouldn't even say that the point you're trying to make, Steve. That's how ridiculous the insanity of their logic. They call them food deserts now. I'm just saying they'll say, yeah, it's your job to take that risk.
Yeah.
It takes a village. We're all in this together.
No. My job is to defend my kids.
Yes.
And your job is to defend yours.
Yes.
Okay. That's my job. I'm Anastasia, Zoe, and Noah's daddy, nobody else's. So that is my priority, number one. Now, I should do for my fellow man whatever I can that does not endanger Anastasia, Zoe, and Noah, which is why, what was, Todd, the very first time I ever mobilized my show for political activism, what was it? It was a school board race in a city I don't even live in. That's what it was. It was putting the first black member on the Des Moines school board in the history of the city of Des Moines. That was the first time I ever mobilized my show for political activism, specifically to generate an election outcome. Get my friend Jonathan Narcissus elected to the school board. As a husband or a father, I've never lived in the city of Des Moines. My kids wouldn't even be a part of that district. And we're never going to go to school in a government school anyway. Yet why did I fight so hard to put my friend on this school board? Because short of endangering my own family, I agree that I have a responsibility to do what I can for other people.
That stems from the church, not from government, though.
Correct. But I want to make sure we're being fair to Melinda here, because she's bringing these things up in the proper, because we stopped in the middle of her email. These aren't the points she's making. I am disputing these points. She's bringing up the broader context here that I do think we need to be concerned about, and that is what is coming next. So I maybe should have read all of Melinda's note and then responded, because I don't want to make it look like she's advocating, hey, I'm homeschooling my kids, but yes, have your kids become terrorized in the government schools for It Takes a Village or something. That's not what she's advocating. Here is what she's advocating. If churches are going to step up and fill this gap and create alternative spaces with good education for all kids, it's going to take a lot of resources and commitment beyond education alone. Absolutely true.
Yes.
I mean, if we're not going to provide that kind of infrastructure, then people will go where that infrastructure exists. So now, the kind of church that could take on the education is probably able to take on meals and all those other things. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not a country church of 50 people can't do this, and probably doesn't have like its own. It does, I'm sure, with a kin for the poor, but it probably doesn't have its own kitchen, or it's a small church. The kind of church that could do this already has these kinds of resources, but I completely agree. And she closes it with, there's a lot to think about here. Agreed. And this is why we spent almost an entire show just broaching the subject on Monday and looking at it from different angles. And the last word of the conversation was not, the whole conversation was not, get out of these schools, these demon-infested schools now and into Christian schools because of school choice. In fact, the last word that we had on this conversation was, are the Christian schools even prepared for this influx of people? And we had our doubts under their current iteration. And Melinda is articulating that at the exact same time. So I would go back to your dad and say, it is not the responsibility of the children to uphold the character of the school. That is the responsibility of the parents. Just like it's not my kid's job to be a missionary any more than it's my kid's job to determine what the behavior of the other kids is. We have adults there. That's the principal's job. That's the administration's job. That's the teacher's job. That's what we're paying you for. But I do agree with Melinda that this does require a broader conversation. Here is, again, where I think the conversation needs to start. You have built or just built a 50 to 100,000 square foot megapolis in the suburbs. What is all that land and square footage doing on Tuesday at 9 a.m.? What's it doing? If there's not a wedding and we're not having services on Saturday nights and Sundays, what's it doing the rest of the week? Right? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
And because the need is already established, right? The need is already established. So the question then becomes, can said need be filled, right? Okay. You drive by a lot of these megapolises in the suburbs during the week. You're coming home from work on a Wednesday at 4:30. Parking lot usually looks pretty what? Empty. You're out in your lunch break on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Parking lot usually looks pretty what? Empty.
Same.
And like the square footage and everything is not flexible, right? It's not like a retractable dome, okay? So like the square footage, when the weather gets bad, they bring the dome out, okay? Otherwise it's open air. Okay?
Yeah.
So like on Sundays, it just expands. And then the rest of the week, it's just this tiny little hamlet. That's not how it works, is it?
I don't believe so.
It's the same acreages and the same amount of square footages there, whether the parking lot is full or whether it's not, right?
Yes.
So what is it doing all week? What's it doing all week? I remember I had a very left-wing coworker at one of my first radio jobs, and if you're a Daniel Horowitz kind of Jew or Josh Hammer kind of Jew in this audience, you know this guy, all right, and you know his temple, where basically you'd be like, okay, the Christians are more Jewish than this guy is. You know who I'm talking about. I mean, this is just, it's a very left. I mean, it's Jewish in name only. I mean, literally, if you are a Christian that has taken, if you take your faith seriously, you know more about the law and the prophets than almost every Jew sitting in that sparsely attended temple does. It's a social club. It's not a church. If you know the Jewish version of your Pottery Barn suburban megachurch, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he was telling me about how they bring in all these kids from inner city Des Moines, and they're there for 3 to some odd hours a day. They got all this space, so why not let them come in and have a get a good meal, and have a safe surrounding. Now, would I rather have them at the Jewish in name only temple at 4:00 on a Thursday than waiting for Snake Plissken to pick them up from school? Well, yeah, that'd be, if that was my choice, sure, okay. But from a worldview standpoint, that place ain't much better than what they're getting at the school. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I mean, they got the rainbow flag out front and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the first time this really dawned on me. Like, okay. Well, here in suburban West Des Moines and Urbandale and all these suburbs of Des Moines, we've got all these massive buildings, all these evangelical churches. What are they doing the rest of the week? Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we?
Yeah, well, a lot to think about on that point. Assuming you get a pastor and the leadership team on board with this, the biggest thing is going to be the reactions from people when you say, you're called to do this. And they're like, yeah, I got tea times and stuff like that. That's what you're going to have to deal with, because it's not so much, you said, what's that space doing the rest of the time? Bigger question is, what are you doing the rest of the time? Because this is about all of us.
Yes, it is.
So, to that end, to say that Steve is very serious about this, if I butcher the name, I think Steve gave me a name. She'll be with us on Tuesday. Is it Heidi St. John? She's
Heidi St. John. Yeah.
Well, there you go. She'll be following up on this.
If you're a woman and homeschool mom, it's a very well-known name. You bet. My wife would know her. Yeah, absolutely. Very well respected. But yeah, time to start building this kind of infrastructure. And it's more available now and everything else than ever before. It's more needed now than ever before. So, yeah. I mean, I think we put it on Monday's show. Okay, we're out there on those. We're out there on the beaches of Dunkirk. We agree. Time for the strategic retreat. Well, we need some ships to jump on, right? I mean, is the civilian fleet waiting out there in the harbor yet? That's kind of what we need to ask about the church. Is are you ready now? Okay, to actually care about these kids.
Yeah. Now the good news is you don't have to be ready. We don't want it to look exactly like it looks now.
No.
Start, as I said last time, start with elementary school. This doesn't have to be 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. The efficiencies that Steve will tell you about homeschool are, that you can introduce, and the co-op method that you're talking about. There's so many ways to do this that will not demand that, yes, we're basically just somehow going to overtake the entire model and infrastructure of the modern day 7:30 to... No, we don't want to do that anyways.
Right. Correct. Anthony says, great discussion on education. It's the most impactful thing that can be done with our kids for the next decade. Here's a few thoughts that I think should be highlighted. Number one, not every child in Iowa receives educational savings account funding. Homeschools, co-ops, online, and non-accredited private school is still not covered. Number two, government schools are not just funded by state, but also property taxes, and only government schools receive property tax dollars. They do, so it doesn't strictly follow 100% the child yet. Number 3, funding is not tied to educational outcomes, only enrollment. Number 4, some parents have given $7,800 to $1,200 or $12,000 per child would have liked to stay home and homeschool if that funding was available. So here are 3 things that our state of Iowa needs to do next. Expand ESA funding to every Iowa non-public student, homeschool or otherwise, with the ability to have unused funds for college like a 529 plan. Number 2, either include property taxes in the ESA or create property tax credit to the minimum 5.4 levy used in agricultural land for non-public school students. Number 3, consolidate government schools to county level so a single standard is used in each county and dollars are spent where needed, not concentrated in high-wealth schools. I think smaller K-8 church-based schools and co-ops or the Christian high school in the community is an ideal balance, but that would require changing the current ESA to support co-ops and online school, which it does not. Iowa legislature and Governor Reynolds are doing many good things, but they need to be pressured from the right to do some great things. I didn't disagree with any of this.
I don't disagree with any of it other than to say we can't just wait for all of that, for the action we can take to go forward.
I think those are really, a lot of times, I'm just going to say this, when people write in with notes like this, how many specifics do they generally include? Very few.
Yep.
When they have criticisms. And they have a lot of smart, very specific action items. I like that a lot. Don't make the greatest the enemy of the good, but if you've got specific ideas like you have there, it's good to inject that into the system there.
One thing I think I am concerned about with our state moving forward, and I've seen a little bit of this already just in my own involvement. Encouraging the governor, encouraging Kim, the governor, encouraging her to put things in place that would forbid any future successors at the statute level from doing to us what was done in neighboring Illinois and some of these other states. And not having, and when I brought this up to some people close to her, it was bristled at as, well, she did a great job. And I'm like, this isn't about the job, how good of a job she's done. And I probably have the largest media platform any living Iowan currently has. And who's trumpeted her record more than I have, right?
Yeah.
It's about the Pharaoh, the Pharaoh who knows not Joseph rule, okay? She's not going to be governor forever. And what happens if there's somebody else there and they try something like this again, which they will, right? Mm-hmm. It's the temptation. How's that tie into what Anthony's writing about here? We have made tremendous strides here in this state. I mean, this has gone from a state where Tom Harkin could have a mailbox in Indianola and claim that was his home for 30 years and essentially be a communist U.S. senator to we are now one of the reddest states in the union. And this has all happened just in the last decade plus. That is tremendous progress. We have to make sure, though, that we finish the job.
Absolutely.
All right? The job is not, okay, let's go into the promised land. The job is to conquer it, all right, to finish it, okay? And there's 2 challenges. And if you're in a state like Iowa making progress, like a Florida, for example, what Daniel is trying to do in Idaho, for example, the challenge is on both sides. Let me start with the side I'm the most sympathetic to, so I put the onus on that first. We have to be careful that we don't immediately jump to, you threw a no-hitter and I demanded a perfect game. We can't do that. Applaud the no-hitter.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's a hell of an accomplishment. This piece of legislation in Iowa that we are doing with school choice is not the ultimate ideal of what we want. But in terms of where it is different from what we had, this is an incredible accomplishment.
Is there any 3 years in your experience in Iowa that line up to the last 3 years in Iowa legislative history and perhaps the history of the state, quite frankly?
And hey, there were some moments you and I went down and testified this winter, and they didn't follow through on that. Yep. So I'm not saying Ted Williams is the last hitter to only fail 60% of the time. Yeah, okay, right. So Ainsley finished first in every single race she's ever run.
Oh no!
And she may be an Olympian one day. We don't know that. Okay, so. We have to make sure that we don't immediately, because we sense the urgency. right? We're like, we have the numbers right now. Let's do it right now. I'm all for that urgency, but if we roll in there like sellouts, this isn't good enough, when they're taking a massive step forward, they'll just drown us out where that is concerned. Okay,
School choice was impossible just
Correct.
like 3 years ago.
And I'm not, by the way, Anthony, I'm not saying you're doing that at all. In fact, I want what you're advocating to be realized. So I'm giving a couple of perspectives to how I think in places like Iowa, we can get there. That's number one. So if you're on the Steve Deace side of, or the Daniel Horowitz side of hit them from the right, agreed. All right. I only attack from the right. Okay. But, you know, when we were over here and now we're here, I know you guys are looking at it backwards, but to me, this is my right. Okay. When it's over here and now we're over here, that's a massive step to the right. Okay. Massive step. Like if we're over here and we only went this far and we could have gone this far, then I'm on the attack. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
But man, we were over here and we're over here. That's a massive step. Okay. Now we need to be like over here.
Remember
okay?
Mike Gronstal?
Yes, exactly. Okay. On the other side of the equation, if you're in the camp that helped us get from here to here, okay, all right, don't settle. Don't settle. Finish the race. Finish the race. And people like me will help you do that if we celebrate you getting from here to here, okay, rather than start on you right away. Why aren't we over here yet? Okay. So I really think this is a mutual relationship here. Because I don't think if someone took you from here to here, they're not a sellout, okay? The person who's a sellout is the person who took you from here to here when they could have taken you over here, and we all know that, and they know that too. They just chose not to, all right? That's not what's happening in a place like this. It's happening in a place like Washington, D.C. all the time, okay? So by golly, small t, terrorize those people. I mean, keep hammering them, yelling at them, sending them notes, everything else, okay? I mean, keep bothering and pestering the hell out of them. But if your state just enacted school choice, it didn't go from here to here. It went from here to here. So give people their propers. The worker is worth his hire, all right? So give him, Paul says, to everyone owed honor, give honor. Honor is owed for that, correct?
Absolutely.
Now, that doesn't mean the job is finished, okay? I mean, every month I pay you guys, and that is emblematic of the fact that I think you did a good job this month, so you get paid, correct?
Yes.
All right. Is that the end of the job? Does the job end? There's no more shows to do. We're done here.
No, every day here is either the Kylo Ren or the Kobe gift that you love so much. More.
Correct.
More.
All right. So you got paid. You got rewarded for what you did, but the job is not over. We have to do 230 shows a year. All right. We've done like 100 of them. So the first 100 were good enough that I paid you guys for all 100. Right. Okay. But the job's not done. We have 130 more left to go. If I just called up the Blaze and said, man, this has been so damn good up half, through Memorial Day, I think we're good. They're going to say, we have a contract. You know what? Same thing. Okay. So you did a great job getting us from here to here. Your term's not over. The legislature, they didn't say, legislature's all finished. We've accomplished everything. Shut it down. Still going to have a session next year, right? Okay.
The woke mob sure as hell isn't going to stop.
No doubt. So then let's get from here to here. Okay. But let's also then on the other end, those of us who want them to get from here to here, let's make sure we're rewarding them and saying thank you for getting us even as far as you did. Fair?
Nailed it.
Yep.
Okay. Before we march on, a word about our friends over at Hillsdale College. Speaking of getting from here to here, this is the most arm motions I've ever done in the history of one show. All right. Well, speaking of that, Hillsdale's trying to get us from here to way over here. All right. And they do so much great work. And they know that too many of America's colleges and universities are far less concerned with critical thinking than they are indoctrination. And it's no wonder that so many, therefore, of their graduates embrace things like cancel culture and celebrate things like terrorism. But I'm happy to report there is a college where students debate ideas openly and honestly, where they pursue truth together with their professors, and where America's heritage of liberty is revered. It's our favorite college, Hillsdale College. As stated in its founding document in 1844, Hillsdale's original mission is to offer the kind of serious liberal arts education needed to preserve the blessings of civil and religious liberty across the land, and that mission continues to guide Hillsdale to this very day. You can learn more at daceforhillsdale.com, F-O-R, the preposition, daceforhillsdale.com. There you'll find a short video just over a minute long. It shows how Hillsdale's work, not only on its Michigan and Washington, D.C. campuses, but across the nation, is effective effective in defending American liberty. So take time to watch it today at daceforhillsdale.com. That's daceforhillsdale.com. I spoke up there a couple years ago. Fantastic community. Fantastic community. A lot of big Michigan fans up there too, which helped.
Does it?
Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Does it?
It helped me. It helped me. Oh boy, that's a great note, but I don't have time to get to it before we have to go to break. Here's a great point. Kirby says he thinks Trump should pivot to the responsibility of the men when it comes to talking about social issues like abortion, about the abandonment of the father, and that when men act responsibly, their children are not aborted. And actually, on a moral level, he probably could do this. He's gone through multiple divorces. He remains in great relationship with his children. We've all seen this. Okay? There is no political fallout these days from challenging the men for many voters that you would hope to get. And this takes the conversation off of my body, my choice, and it puts the focus on the abandonment of men and absentee fathers, creating the demand for abortion in the first place. Thoughts on what Kirby is suggesting here?
Adorable.
Yep.
Not possible.
Not possible.
This is
in and of itself, or for Donald Trump?
For Donald Trump.
Okay. But you think Kirby's argument is good on the merits?
Of course,
okay.
But get in line. There's a long argument about advice that Trump should be taking that are winning. Do you remember Sweet Cakes by Melissa? And how we said, just go do this. Say, hey, I'm not the guy to lecture you about marriage, but reach into your pocket, get it on camera. This is where he pulled a Mitt Romney. He wouldn't eat the chicken sandwich. Give them the money to pay their legal fees out of your pocket and say, I got this, but I do know business. And we can't hold businesses high. He didn't do that. That was low-hanging fruit. He's not. Don't waste your time doing this. Of course, you're right, but you can't think this into him. He won't do it. He can't do it. I think I hear Aaron seconding me, but I don't. Let's not waste our emotional capital on this.
Then why not just suggest this to maybe Republicans? Excuse me, Republicans as a general rule. This would be a good
because they're worse than Donald
Trump.
Trump.
Well, see, I don't have any.
So basically, you want Kirby to start cutting himself.
Yep.
Well, come on, we all know that.
He's not a conservative. He's never described himself as conservative. To his credit, I actually give him credit for that. But he's not a conservative. Don't expect him to just... maybe he wakes up one day, the right person was in his ear, and that's when he decides, hey, maybe this is a good idea. I should start pursuing something that sounds conservative, not because it's conservative, but I think it'll help me right now. But no.
The number of chicken sandwiches that Trump won't eat is a lot.
We can't get him to say he won't even vote against the Kill 'Em All bill in his own state of Florida right now. But Kirby, your overall presupposition is accurate, and the conversation we should be having more often. You're correct. More Feedback Friday in a moment.
The Steve Deace Show.
All right, back here with our final segment as we head off for a Memorial Day weekend here on the Steve Deace Show, brought to you by our friends over at Preborn. They, unlike a lot of what you've seen in the pro-life community, they were ready for the post-Roe world because they were already fighting the battle that was going to be fought in a post-Roe world. They already were ready to fight this out hand to hand, soul to soul, mom to mom. And how do they do that? Well, they just emulate the most successful persuader in human history, God. And they use both truth and grace. They use the truth of confronting moms. They do it gently, but it's still a confrontation. Hey, that heartbeat is not yours. That belongs, that you're hearing in our ultrasound here, that belongs to another human being. And so you're killing another human being, not an unviable tissue mass. You're killing another human being. So there's truth there to confront. But then when the mom makes the right decision, there is grace there now. to help her to see it through. And they do all of this, from the prenatal care to the postnatal counseling and assistance, even car seats, diapers, to the ultrasounds to convince mom to not kill her child. All of this is done free of charge, provided there's tax-deductible donations from people like us. If you'd like to make one today, go to preborn.com/Steve. Make a tax-deductible donation today. As low as $28, you can save a baby with an ultrasound. Can't beat it. Preborn.com/Steve, or dial #250 and say the keyword baby on your mobile phone. Or go to preborn.com/Steve. All right, gents, let's go back to Feedback Friday, shall we?
Shoot.
Dallas Martin in Magnolia, Texas writes, I really enjoyed Monday's show highlighting the positives of the school choice movement and the potential unpreparedness of the Christian private school systems in those states. I want to weigh in on what we are experiencing firsthand in the transition from public to private schools. We here, and many people, are numb to the demonic encroachment taking place even in our conservative suburban public school district. Even mentioning to your Christian friends that you're thinking of going the private route is often met with the objection you spoke of pertaining to the idea of our kids having a role as missionaries. I'm sorry, I just think that argument is really dumb. I've literally alienated friends and relatives arguing this point for years, as, like Todd, I consider it a lazy and passive response by Christians that just love their comfort. For years, I struggled sending our kids to public schools, but privates in this area are essentially college-level pricing and unattainable. Multiple schools in the area are over $30K a year. We dabbled with homeschooling some during the pandemic, but what worked for one of my kids was not a fit for the others. To ensure my kids were as protected from the government's tentacles as possible, I resolved to spend as much time as necessary to be an effervescent presence in their hallways and teachers' offices and inboxes. By 2022, the struggle became overwhelming, and we moved my 10th grader to a university model Christian school here in our area. That's similar to a co-op. And the kids are in a brick and mortar on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and Tuesdays and Thursdays they do their assignments from home. This year, we enrolled my 5th grader, and next year, my 9th grader will be attending as well. While it's not always perfect, it is obviously vastly superior to the secular woke indoctrination infesting all these institutions in the public realm. The school was started by a mom in 2005 that just wanted her kids to have an education that emphasized a biblical, Christ-centered worldview. Today, it's a K-12 college preparatory education that is meant to educate and disciple kids. While it's not your traditional private school, it still offers the connection to peers and in-class learning while empowering the parents to be involved and on the front lines of their kids' education. Seems obvious to me that churches should offer this for their congregations and community. Either way, university model schooling could be the answer many in your audience are looking for. Just thought I would pass that along and love what you guys are doing. And you know what I love about your note, Dallas, is that you've tried it. You tried it every way. What was right for our family, and you tried even in Magnolia, Texas, for goodness sakes. That's supposedly Valhalla, right? And you tried, man. I love how you described it. I was an effervescent presence. I love that. Okay. I'm not sure the school felt that way, but that's what we dig about you. Yes. Okay. But you tried that, man. You did everything you possibly could. And then came to the conclusion of what was best for your family, man. Much respect. Well done. But yes, again, you're sitting on 3 acres and 75,000 square feet. What's going on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock? What are you guys doing there? What's happening? In many of these churches, that space is going largely unused. I think that's wrong. Bridget writes, I live in a small rural town of 1,500 people, and my husband and I have lived here most of our lives. We have 4 children that go to the same school we did when we were kids. It may be even the same building, but it's not the same school. It started last year when my then 11-year-old adoptive son came home with marks on his neck and told me another student choked him during recess. I was not contacted, and he was told by his assistant principal that it didn't happen, and the student who did the choking never had his parents contacted either. A month of emails, meetings, and gaslighting, and I got to the truth when they finally met with me again and let me see the videotape. The choking kicked off months of behaviors at school and home because my son had been abused in the past. At the end of last school year, the principal was retiring 3 years after being caught by a student having sex in a classroom during school hours with another teacher who wasn't his wife. So I was hopeful that the new principal would be better. Nope. He ushered in a new grading system based on, quote, equity, where students no longer have letter grades but numbers, get to retake tests several times, no homework, and no GPA. Any concerns I have are met with smarmy, condescending copy and paste replies. Thank you for your concern. Your feedback is appreciated, blah, 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 blah. Exactly. I ran for school board but was beat by a young man who never bothered to come to any school board meetings and didn't even show up to the questioning night for the people running for school board. It probably didn't help that a woke high school English teacher was telling people that I was part of a hate group called Moms for Liberty, or that I said I didn't explicitly or unquestionably trust the teachers to choose and teach any curriculum that they wanted. When I saw that my freshman daughter had a unit on DEI for careers class, I asked the teacher if she indeed required a student to include men who identify as women in the women's sports category. I was sent a reply by the principal saying, by including transgender athletes in the presentation of women in sports, students were including the full picture of the current reality of women's sports. In the same email, he said it was optional, but it wasn't. My daughter was also instructed by the teacher to not include sex trafficking in the child labor category she chose. She did anyway because these were self-graded presentations and she didn't care what the teacher said. Now I am addressing the fact that the school hasn't made any statements about the middle school teacher that resigned back in August and has officially been convicted of molesting, sending lewd pictures to, and engaging in statutory rape with at least 3 students, 2 of whom were in my 8th grade daughter's class. It was addressed on another podcast I listened to, Best Case, Worst Case, and I sent the podcast to the principal, superintendent, and all the school board members. I demanded to know what had been done to prevent this from happening again. I basically got a reply of stay in your lane. We are seriously considering doing Freedom Project Academy, at least for our 15-year-old daughter next year, and the rest of our kids once they hit high school. Any other schools in the area are at least 30 minutes away and even more woke than ours. I just needed to get this off my chest. I can't believe this is happening in our little town, and I needed to know that I'm not alone in feeling outraged by this. Again, that is Bridget. I'm sure you may have a response or two to this.
Is this Carlisle, Iowa? You know, my award for exposing that kind of stuff at that level, at that of incidents, the number of times it kind of happened, and because they knew I would expose them using social media in public, in small towns like that, though, the number of failures that have to happen beyond just the apparatus of the schools has to be almost complete, because that's why I went at my daughter's own sports banquet, just to protect himself. The athletic director, who I had exposed multiple times for breaking policy, he made sure the cops were there just to try to intimidate me, and so I wouldn't confront him in person. And the cops are happy to oblige. Cease and desist letters, although nothing ever happened again, just intimidation tactics. Yeah, these are terrible people, and in small towns like that, honestly, everything you described. Where's the sheriff? Yep. Where's the cops? Where's the Chamber of Commerce? Because small towns have those too. The level of complicity across the board is total. It's disgusting. And this, if we don't understand that, it's going to keep happening. I trust me, I thought I had found...
You were an effervescent presence in your school too.
But
yes.
I was semi-rural at the start of this thing when my 2 oldest daughters went there in 5th and 4th grade. Things seemed good. I had very few complaints. They were getting a decent education. I pay attention. I say things that need to be said, but the volume got turned on up. Once they all decided to move, once the code read, oh my goodness, did they move fast. And listen, I'm pretty good at this. I don't care what the names people call me, but if the entire system is against you,
yeah, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where you kick the dust off your sandals and you move on.
And now I'm a refugee at Des Moines Christian.
Now you're a Catholic refugee at Des Moines Christian, right?
What Todd just articulated and described there, the Chamber of Commerce, all of these other institutions in small towns, you can find them anywhere in the country, is basically the premise, and the interconnectedness of all of them, including, and maybe especially in the schools. It's the premise, whether or not they intended it to be, of the movie Hot Fuzz. Have you ever seen that movie? It's a Simon Pegg movie. Do you know who that is? Maybe I'm not.
Yep, I know who it is. I know who he is, but I've not seen the movie. Yeah.
It's basically the premise of Hot Fuzz. And I'm sure that they were thinking they were pegging, or they were pillaring, those dastardly old conservatives that still have their They still have their tentacles and everything, but that's basically coven of Illuminati that run this town. But everything from the outside looks fine, but they're all secretly protecting each other. Of course, zany hijinks ensue, but that's the effect, is that power is most acutely felt at the local level. Is there anything right now at this instant, that Joe Biden could do to your kids? Maybe via the Department of Justice, but even then, you know what? The gears of the bureaucracy move slowly. At this instant, though, is there something, if your kids are in public school, that could be affected by the authority at the public school? Absolutely.
Yep.
Power and tyranny is most acutely felt at the local level. And what that means is that, it flows from on high, but it's carried out by on high's minions. So it's just another indication of what Todd was talking about.
And you want to talk about taking dominion, as Aaron just discussed, what's happening locally. Take dominion when it comes to your healthcare as much as you can, especially if you heard the conversation with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya yesterday. Let's just say, when I asked him to give me the most positive, empathetic explanation for what possibly happened the last few years, it was neither positive nor empathetic. All right. So take as much control over your body and your health as you can, and especially on behalf of your loved ones. If they're elderly and wards of the state at this point, they're completely at the mercy of the bureaucracy. Get the Jace case, both for yourself and for them. You'll get a backup of venerable medications from doxycycline to amoxicillin and others. Now you can expand it, though, too, to make sure you're getting backups of your medications. You can include even things like EpiPens, even ivermectin, the verboten drug. All right, so there's a wide menu of things you can expand it to make sure you and or a loved one who is a ward of the state gets the backups they need just in case there's another emergency. All right, go to jacemedical.com. Use the code DACE at checkout for the discount. Use the code DACE at checkout for the discount at jacemedical.com, JASE, for jacemedical.com, discount code DACE. Let's close this out with Brandon. He says, I'm a longtime fan all the way back to when you were doing some Cyclone athletic stuff with Iowa State and a WHO junkie. I've really enjoyed your journey. And you guys should do a housekeeping show sometimes talking about, for the rookies out there, what all these things in your locker room and on your set are symbolic of, okay? For example, what's the diving airplane? That's just something the Blaze put there that they thought was cool. What's the story with the gavel? The gavel behind Todd is a present that I was given for speaking at the University of Chicago Law School last year. What's the story with the gun? It's to threaten me should I begin to be obsessive over traditional, conventional political analysis ever again. Does Aaron even know what an Atari is?
That thing up there?
Yes, it's that thing up there. Yes. What's the Mason City Mohawks clip about? That's my very first ever byline, which I committed complete subterfuge to write that story, pretending to be a sports writer. I wasn't one yet, just to see if I could cause myself to get my big break. And I nearly got fired for it, but the story was so good that after threatening to fire me, the Register ran it on the front page of the sports section, and it became my big break. It's how I got into the media, and I just was getting engaged with my wife at this time, or at least contemplating it, and this was her first present to me. Is she went and she got that article, cut it out, and had it preserved for me, so I'd have it forever. And so that's what that article is over there. That is peach colored. That's what it is. So there's a story to a lot of this stuff. Who's the girl holding the message behind Todd? That's Anastasia and Zoe both. That's a picture they did for me for Father's Day. Anastasia, Noah, and Zoe did years ago. It says, "Daddy, we love you because," and so that's Anna and Zoe down there in the picture. So, yeah, most of these things have a story. Some of them, like the nosediving airplane, don't. The Blaze just thought that was cool when they designed the set, so they put that on there, and I thought it was kind of cool too. So some of these things have a story. Other things are just kind of picked at random, but yeah.
We are contemplating a show and tell evergreen, are we not? Still, we've been talking about this
your
for
life
about,
kind of a thing.
We've been talking about this for like 2 years.
Yes,
2 years.
Because there's a lot of pictures and stuff and other things
box sitting
that we
over
don't
there
even have room for yet.
There's a box sitting over there in the corner of stuff that used to be in the old radio studio.
Yep.
that you don't even know what all is in that box.
I
but
don't.
I think we're going to do an evergreen someday of you just pulling stuff out at
Having
random.
you actually just pull stuff out.
Oh, yes.
And saying, hey, what's this? And telling the story about it.
Live on the air.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of fun, Todd, don't you?
Live to tape.
I don't even know what box we're talking about. We just have a box of stuff?
There's a box of pictures and keepsakes that we just didn't have room for up there.
Oh, that okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And just doing an evergreen one day and re-record it, and Aaron just randomly pulls stuff out and says, "All right, here's the picture, here's the keepsake. What is this, and what's the meaning behind it?"
What if it turns out that that's like our most popular show, and people say,
"You're done."
Yeah, this is way better than what you normally do.
This is the perfect series finale, and thank you. Yes, perfect sign off. Thank you. It was a good run. It was a good run, Jean-Luc. But all the good things must come to an end. All right, any final thoughts, gentlemen? We have about a minute left. Go ahead.
You know what would be awesome? We record that evergreen this summer, and then like one of us are like, I'm sick the day after the election, so that's what we run the day after the election.
Dude, depending on the results, I may want to run that the day after the election, my friend. All right? Rather than run, back-a-lock-a-lock, okay? Let's make that a Twitter poll. If we lose this one the day after the election, you want to hear "Pack-a-lack-a-lack," or do you want to hear "This is your life evergreen"? Which one is it? I don't know. The "Pack-a-lack-a-lack's going to get a lot of votes on that one. Thoughts?
When is the Pack-a-lack-a-lack t-shirt coming out?
Dude, there's some branding material right there.
Pack-a-lack-a-lack.
Yeah.
Isn't that a song?
Kakalaki. We're going to stick around, do overtime for the subscribers. For the rest of you, enjoy the long Memorial Day weekend. See you Tuesday, Romans 8:28.